Chris O'Connor, followed by Sandy Sigurdsson. Becky Gray is on deck.
Good morning. My name is Chris O'Connor. I'm the Executive Director with the Central Coast Vineyard Team. And in San Luis Obispo, we represent 170 members and 25,000 acres of wine grape growers. We've been around since 1994, and our sole mission is to promote sustainable farming, to develop public trust, and to become a model for other ag producers. Just as an FYI, we're a little gem in your local community. We were one of 5 organizations to receive a national EPA award. This last year, we get awards from the Regional Water Quality Control Board, the Department of Pesticide Regulation, USDA. But again, our mission is around sustainable wine growing. And I have a graduate degree, but I got to tell you, I'm a little confused by some of the memos and some of the different drafts that are floating around. On one hand, there's talk about it's not going to affect nonprofits. On the other hand, I see things that might suggest that it would really affect some of the things that we're doing and that are core to our programs. One of the things that people might have heard about is we have tailgate meetings. We regularly have over about 50 people come to these meetings, both Spanish and English, farm workers, managers, all levels of decision makers on the vineyard. And the point is that they're in a vineyard, and we're demonstrating something around integrated pest management, water quality, biodiversity, energy, new equipment, new energy efficient equipment. They last about 90 minutes. People come, we have our coffee and donuts, we talk about a practice, and then people go on their own way. But these are really critical to our very effective grower-to-grower outreach and education, where we've been able to really effectively influence some of the decisions that are happening out in the vineyards. And one of the other interesting points is that 50% of the people that come to these meetings say that they'll change a practice. And again, I'm really confused by some of the different language out there, whether this is really going to affect us. And I certainly don't think that was probably the intent, but I do actually think that we would be affected by this. The other event that we have, our Earth Day Food and Wine Festival, where we move beyond vineyards and wineries. We work with a lot of local farmers, sustainable farmers. And in terms of the 300 people, we have 300 people there just in terms of parking attendants and vendors and people serving food. But again, the really important point is that it's bringing the connections between the farmers and the consumers, and that this is a very important link. Our event is minimal impact. I don't think you can probably assume that just because an event is big that you have a big impact. We shuttled about 40% of our guests. We carpooled the rest. We only had 2 bags of trash. So there are lots of ways to minimize the impacts of these events. So again, look back, go back to the original intent. I think there are some consequences, the way it's written, that were probably not intended, and I would suggest just going back to the Board of Soups.
Thank you, Ms. O'Connor. Sandy Sigurdsson is our next speaker, followed by Becky Gray with Karen Argano on deck.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the Commission. Thank you so much for having the patience to go through all this and doing your job, so appreciate it. Thank you to staff for all their work on this for many, many years. And for the folks that have been coming to these meetings for a long time. I work for the San Luis Obispo Symphony. We started out this process a few years ago looking to have 3,001 people come to the Pops by the Sea as opposed to 2,099 that now do. And it kind of kicked things into high gear, and the direction's been amazing and kind of unfathomable, and how we got here today, where even a few years ago, the folks that had some concerns about Pops by the Sea down at the Apple Beach Resort, there were some concerns about sound and health and safety that we clearly adequately addressed before the Board of Supervisors, because they exempted us after that. But the sense I got was this division of, well, classical music was okay. We didn't mean the symphony. We mean rock or country or reggae. And, we weren't prepared to be divided from that. Now we get here and we're getting in more division about, great growers versus other ranchers and farmers, and nonprofits versus the business community, and the Sierra Club versus the Farm Bureau. And the divisive, truly, I'm not sure who spoke earlier to say that if there's that much confusion around this ordinance and that much division, there's something deeply flawed in the ordinance. one of the deepest flaws, I think, is that it just naturally assumes that there's trouble and that neighbors aren't going to work out how to live together. And I reject that. I reject that argument. I'll mention just a couple of things that that I saw in the draft ordinance that are specifics. One is that, and I appreciated that in ATC they actually dropped the advisory board requirement. If you've already been required to notice all the neighbors, get a county fire permit, go through the Ag Commission, the Planning Commission, and the Health Department, not the Planning Department and the Health Department, to have to then go to a non-elected body and a non-professional staff before you even get to come to you, it just didn't make sense. It seems like that was enough. Someone mentioned the insurance requirements. If you've given a certificate of insurance to the landowner proving that you've got your required insurance coverage, the county should not need this much more paper. And the fees, there's no fees attached. I mean, we're going to establish the fees after we get the ordinance through. It doesn't seem right. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Segerson. Becky Gray, followed by Karen Argano. Dane Sensor is on deck.
Hi, I'm Becky Gray, Executive Director of the San Luis Obispo Vintners Association. Thank you for your time today. Just a little history. I was very involved with the winery event ordinance way back in the day when that was established. It was done in a clear, concise manner. It didn't take this much time, and it worked. A few months back, I was in the same building in February for the meeting, and it seems like at the time everything was confusing, contradictory, and it was supposed to go back to clarify and clear things up. To my knowledge, that still has not happened, and I feel like we're still in the same boat. I agree that we do need boundaries and we do need clear guidelines in order to work together. I think that we, as vintners, like to coexist with our neighbors and communities where we live and work, and we stand together with them in opposition of this proposed report. We request a fair and honest discussion, and we would like this to go back to the Board of Supervisors where they can clarify and give us further direction on what is required. And although it keeps coming up that wineries will not be affected by this, there's still this gray area of mystery because it is so confusing and contradictory that we feel that they could be affected by this, and we just think that everything needs to be back to the drawing board for clarification to start over. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Argano.